This week's episode is brought to you by Evelyn R., who suggested the featured movie on our Facebook page. Thank you very much, Evelyn, for the suggestion. If you have a movie suggestion, question, comment, or you just like to say hi, we're going to tell you all the ways you can do that at the end of the episode. And now, on with the show. Mike, if you would. Welcome to episode 51 of the Graveyard Shift Horror Podcast, where each week we watch a movie from the horror category and break it down into the good, the bad, and sometimes the downright confusing. We'll talk about the plot, some production details, and anything else we find fun or relevant. I'm your host Sheldon, and I never worked the Graveyard Shift alone. Please say hello to the guy that will be silent no longer, my co-host Mike.
Hey everybody.
Mike, how are you?
Pretty decent. How about you?
Not bad, not bad. Gotta ask you right away, what are your overall thoughts of this week's movie?
It was a movie.
Yep, it was a movie. This is going to be another one of those movies that I think is going to be kind of hard to comment on. Because it wasn't necessarily bad, but it didn't really have anything that great about it either.
Oh, I got a full list here, so...
Oh, well, then let's, why keep everybody in suspense any longer? Because I'm sure nobody has actually read the title of the episode. So why don't you tell everyone what we got for them this week?
Today's episode is Silent but Deadly, because we watched Silent Hill.
That's right, we did, and here is some info on Silent Hill. Released in April of 2006, man, I'm so drunk. So, released in April of 2006, Silent Hill is a Canadian-French horror film based on the popular Konami video game of the same name. It has an R rating, a runtime of 125 minutes, way too long for a movie that's not that exciting. Had a budget of $50 million, which is crazy for a movie like this. I don't know what the hell they spent the money on. And it had a box office return
CGI dissolves.
I guess. It had a box office return of approximately $98 million. So, it made a profit, almost doubled its budget. As for the plot, a woman goes in search for her adopted daughter within the confines of a strange, desolate town called Silent Hill, where she encounters a fanatical cult and supernatural forces. So, yeah, this movie, like you said, when I said I didn't know where the budget is, you mentioned CGI. This movie is very, very CGI heavy. We should probably keep it for for the actual sections we want to talk about, like a comment, like a little more detail. But I just want to talk about that first of all. It's very CGI heavy, and the CGI is not good. It had that very late 90s look to it.
Well,
which is important.
It's Canadian CGI, so...
Oh, so, Canadian CGI is always a little bit behind.
That's like a step above, the kind of games you'd find in a Captain Crunch box.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Yeah, that's a good point. But this movie does have a decent fan following, I guess you would say. I don't want to necessarily say a cult following, but it has a decent fan following. Yeah, I just got it. It's an unintentional pun right there. Rotten Tomatoes actually gave it an audience score of 62%. So, I mean, not blowing anybody away, but it has its audience. But now, critics rip this one apart. Rotten Tomatoes gives it a critic score of 29%.
Ooh, disparity.
Yeah. I might give it a little higher than that. I think I'm going to meet this one probably in the middle. I'm going to say... I'm going to give it split right down the middle. I'm going to give it an exact 50. It's one of those things where I can see people absolutely hating this movie. I can see people kind of liking it.
Yeah, this movie to me fell into the same trap as Resident Evil, where it was based off of a good premise, but ran way too fucking long.
Yeah. A lot of unnecessary things could have been cut out.
Like, decent acting, some great scenes, but, an hour into it, I'm just like, I'm ready for this to be over now.
Yeah.
And then you check the runtime and you're like, I'm only half done.
Yeah, and it's another one of those movies where they threw stuff in there just because, and it really didn't make any sense because you didn't get any kind of explanation about what it was supposed to be.
We have to justify the budget. Keep filming. Keep running.
Exactly. It's like, it almost looks like when they were making the movie, they went through some screenshots of the game and said, well, this is in the game, so we got to throw this in. We don't know what it is, but let's throw it in there.
And then they said, this isn't in the game, but we're going to throw it in anyway. And that's where they began to go wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just randomly throwing stuff in game. When you make, first of all, don't make movies based on video games because it just don't. It doesn't work. I really think we should have learned that by now.
Well, you're telling me you weren't blown away by Warcraft or Battleship?
Jeez, yeah, Battleship. I forgot about Battleship. They even tried to, now we're going to start making movies about board games.
Remember Dungeon Keeper in the Name of the King or whatever the fuck that was?
No. I don't
I don't
know if I didn't see it or I've just blocked it from my memory. But
it's a Yui Ball movie, so...
Yeah. Never mind. Yeah, for a movie that's...
And I know his name is pronounced Uwe, but if he can't get movies right, I won't get his name right. Fuck him.
For somebody,
that's
he didn't
the deal.
do this movie, but man, somehow it had his stink all over it. It feels like it's in that vein. But anyway, we are going to get into specifics about what we liked and didn't like about this movie, because we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and a little something we like to call what the fuck. And it was very hard for me to not put this entire movie under that category. But anyway, we're going to the specifics. Well, when we talk about the good or the bad, this can be anything we liked or disliked about this movie. So we get to be as broad or specific as we want. It can be an overall story, an overall theme, a certain scene, certain line, certain character, doesn't matter. But we always start with the good, and we always start with the Mike. So Mike, you've got probably a much bigger list than I do. Tell me something that's good about this movie.
Oh, the MILF.
Jesus Christ.
Well, from the beginning, we get to see this girl wearing a wife-beater shirt, and she is, she's in great shape.
Yep.
And for the first about 20 minutes of this movie, in lieu of a plot, I'm astounded by her Silent Hills.
Yeah, they kick off the movie with her just running around in her pajamas on what's obviously a very chilly night.
Oh, very. And she keeps getting knocked down, so you just get to see how perky she is and how gravity hasn't done its job on her yet.
Nope.
So, before anything interesting happens, we've got that going on, so it's a nice little placeholder. Two nice placeholders.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good place to start out. Yeah, for sure. And first thing I got on the list is hey, it's Sean Bean. When's he gonna die? I like him. I like Sean Bean. I'm good with almost every role he's in. I think he does a great job.
He was eye candy for the ladies and 10% of the gentlemen. I mean, he was walking around again when they're looking for their kid. He's got his shirt on, but it's hugging his body, and you're just this guy is in shape.
He was in good shape at the time, yeah. I mean, considering his age, he's in decent shape now. But total tangent. Have you seen the Netflix series he's in, the Frankenstein Chronicles?
Never heard of it.
Oh, check it out. It's on.
Is it about the monster or the doctor?
It's Basically, it's about a bunch of murders that he's a police inspector, and during the 1800s, and he let's just I don't want to give it too much away, but he encounters he's investigating some murders that has close links to the Frankenstein novel. Like the Frankenstein novel actually exists in a universe, and Mary Shelley is actually a character in the show.
Oh, so it's like some sort of like fan killer who's trying to imitate the character of her book.
Or she may have gotten the idea for the book from events that actually happened.
Ooh, nice.
So yeah, check it out. It's
so is there? Okay, I may need a spoiler just to tip my interest. Are there supernatural elements in it, or is it like a realistic?
No, it's nothing supernatural. It's like medical science.
Okay, so we don't actually get to. So the monster. I wouldn't consider a spoiler if something doesn't show up. So the monster doesn't show up, or a monster like that doesn't show up.
There might be multiple monsters.
Well, fuck then. All right, I'm in.
I'll say that.
You just said there's no horror aspect to it.
No, I didn't say there's no supernatural aspect to it.
So what? So Frankenstein's. Oh, I guess Frankenstein wouldn't be supernatural.
It is not really considered supernatural, no.
Okay, but there are numerous monsters. So yay! All right, fuck this. I'm in.
So yeah, check it out. But anyway, what we were talking about? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, because Sean. Bean
I don't know some movie about some movie about some hot Australian actress.
Yes. Yeah. So like I like Sean Bean, and it's like I was waiting for him to die, and spoiler alert, he didn't die.
Yeah. Well, you just killed my what the fuck.
Oh shit! Sorry.
which is just 3 words. Sean Bean lives.
Oh, there you go.
And a plus that I have to give this movie is astounding setting, scenery, music. I like for the first when things started happening, I felt like the game was coming to life.
Oh yeah. I got that on my list. That's the next on my good list, actually. Like, the backdrop of the majority of this movie is mind-blowing. Like, the atmosphere they created with this abandoned town with, like, the ash in the air all the time. Like, even before anything, before you encounter any of the supernatural creatures, just when she first arrives at the town, when she's running through it, was eerily beautiful. So, completely agree on that.
And even the music, even when they're driving down and you hear the music in the car radio, I was just just like this sad rainy day song playing on the radio. I was just thinking wow, this is definitely putting me in the Silent Hill mood. So as far as video game movies go, up to this point, they're nailing it. They've actually figured out what the spirit of the game was. Again, up to this point.
How familiar are you with the game?
I've played Silent Hill 2, and I did play Silent Hill 3 with the intent to finish it, but the game was scratched. So I had to watch the end. I had to watch the last half of the game on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
But it was good. They were 2 very great games. Astounding music, sound effects, suspense. They were just astounding to watch, and just excellent writing. And Silent Hill 3 was the actual sequel to Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2 was a standalone movie, a standalone game in its own. It had nothing to do with Alessa or the cult of Silent Hill. But it did introduce the character Pyramid Head, which shows up in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But Silent Hill 3 follows a girl who goes to Silent Hill and finds out she is Alessa, all grown up.
Oh, okay.
And apparently, this isn't based off any particular game. It's more like a summation of the series.
Yeah, they've got elements of a lot of the games thrown into one movie, I think.
Never to get to play Silent Hill on the PlayStation. But from what I was told, it was about a guy named Harry who comes to town, something about his dead daughter, and he finds a cult who is trying to kill a little girl. And he ends up adopting her and getting her out of town and killing killing most of the cult, but some of them do survive in 3 and eventually try to find Alessa and bring her back to town by filling her heart with darkness. And they do that by killing her dad, the hero of Silent Hill 1.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah, so it's an interesting little concept. Like, apparently she's, like, always, like, her soul was pregnant with this god that they're trying to birth in the world. But, like, she's, like, just a teen girl, so she's not pregnant. But, when they fill her with enough anger or darkness, like, after killing her dad and angering her and pissing her off, they filled her with enough darkness so that she can give birth to their demon god thing. But she ends up, like, remembering her dad and kind of, like, self-aborts.
Oh, Jesus, okay.
But then, like, the priestess who... But she does it by taking, like, this weird potion, which sort of, like, purifies her body, so she pukes up the baby rather than, like, front pooping it. And that's...
front pooping it.
And it gets worse.
You could actually say, like, giving birth to it. Like, what the hell? Oh my god, okay.
So then the head priestess, who's like her sister, eats the baby.
This is what happens when you don't get when public schools don't get a decent sex ed course, people.
This is Canadian education.
Oh, God.
Our education system is fine, actually. I'm just a terrible person.
Might just skip school a lot, that's all.
So then the priestess decides, like, oh no, the demon can't die, so she, like, eats the baby so it can finish germinating inside her. And then she becomes, like, this weird demon goddess thing. It's definitely a fucked up series, but well worth playing.
Yeah,
I tried playing the game on Downpour or Homecoming on the 360, and it just got to a point where it just got, even on the easy setting, it was exceptionally difficult to get past some scenes, so I'm just like, fuck this.
Yeah. Who needs challenge?
So...
Okay, so we both agreed about, like, the setting, the actual look, the atmosphere. What else you got on your good list?
Cops actually acting like cops should.
You mean cops actually investigating and looking into things and...
Yeah, like serving and protecting and, like, believing people around them to a reasonable extent.
Mm-hmm.
When you start talking about, like, ghosts and monsters, they're just like, okay, well, yeah, I'm just going to keep an eye on you instead. And then when they do see the ghosts and monsters, then they're just like, okay, all right, I'm on board. We're going to deal with the ghosts and monsters. And I've got one last one, kind of a bit of a spoiler. At the end, when the little girl goes basically ballistic, the little evil ghost aspect of the girl goes ballistic and starts shredding people with barbed wire that sprouts from hell or her body or something.
Yeah.
And like when the darkness is in the form of the little girl dancing in the blood rain.
While the cult leader is getting, like, eviscerated with barbed wire.
Ooh. I mean, like, remember how we were talking about, like, gross things before involving vaginas? Well...
Gross. Jesus Christ, what is wrong with you tonight?
We're talking about Silent Hill. That's where we went wrong. I told you, man, that series is fucked up. It brings out the best in me.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Like, the last 3 things that I have on my good list are literally just 3 scenes. So, because I have that scene, of course, the ending scene when when Alyssa takes her revenge on the cult that basically turned her into a monster. Because she just annihilates the entire cult using, like, barbed wire. It is a fantastic scene. But the cult leader literally gets strung up, filled with barbed wire, and then ripped in half.
Yeah, and if you thought the tree from Evil Dead was a little too much...
Gee, yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt where that barbed wire was going. But yeah, so there's that scene, and then a couple of scenes before that, Sybil, her unfortunate death, played by Laurie Holden, who played Andrea on Walking Dead.
I knew she looked familiar.
Yeah. I told you I met her, right, at Comic-Con?
No,
Robin and
but
I met her at the same time. We got her picture taken with her.
damn, you meet everybody. It's amazing what happens when you leave the house.
Yeah, she was pretty nice. She was actually really cool. She talked a lot, and she was very friendly, so it was actually pretty cool. And she smelled purty.
Oh wow, she didn't smell like fear and despair like everyone else there.
No, she didn't smell charred at all either. Yeah, she had such a great scene, but like a fucking horrible death. Slowly, not even burnt, like just roasted. Like, cause she didn't actually come in contact with the flame. It's not like she burst into flames. She was just like slow roasted to death.
Yeah, that's like what would happen if you walk near a volcano.
Yeah, pretty much. And
Yeah,
all those people in the church will be dead because they've got a huge open fire with wood gasoline burning in the middle of a church in a enclosed building. They would all be asphyxiated. Just letting everybody know that.
Yeah.
I used to be a firefighter. Everybody in that building will be dead.
Yeah, you start a bonfire in an enclosed building. Yeah, congratulations, you just committed mass suicide.
Yeah, I had that on my bad list, but I just thought it was a good time to bring it up. People don't know how fires work.
Yeah, there was a lot. There was, like, for a town surrounded by fog, I'm just surprised that they seem to cheap out on the smoke for the fire.
Yeah, you know that smokeless... you know how to create a smokeless fire, right? Just like any type of scrap wood you can find, douse with gasoline, you'll be fine.
Yeah, the gasoline contains all the ash and the char, so you just get that nice clean vapor coming from it.
Yeah. The only thing smoking was Sybil. But yeah, that was a great death scene, though. They liked the fire, and despite the fact that it made no sense to have that raging fire in the middle of a church, somehow perfectly contained. But anyway, yeah, she's slowly lowered into, not even lowered into the fire, like just gradually lowered down into the heat.
Yeah, well, I think it may have cut too much into the budget if they had to do CGI fire and skin bubbling.
Yeah.
In the same scene. I
gotta say, though, as much as I got complaints about a lot of the other CGI, they actually did a good job with her, like the look of her, like slowly cooking. And she actually did a great job of reacting to it correctly. Trying her best to hold her head away from the fire as, like, her skin started coming off.
Yeah, and like turning from one side to the other, kind of like maybe if I space out the burns, it'll buy me enough time so somebody can come rescue me. Like somebody who I've been helping out throughout the entire movie.
Exactly.
Oh, and she didn't come here. Fuck her.
Of course, the other scene on my good list had to be Pyramid Head.
Oh,
we get a glimpse of, because
he
is of the Silent Hill games. He's become like the most iconic character.
As far as I know, he was only in 2 movies, though. Two games.
Yeah, he's like, when you see somebody cosplaying... People, when it comes to Silent Hill cosplaying, people are either Pyramid Head or one of the nurses. The ghost nurses.
And they nailed those, too.
Yeah, although I got problems with that, too. But, anyway.
Well, besides the fact that it ruined your nurse fetish.
Did it? But anyway, he shows up, doesn't do a whole lot the first time you see him. He's just basically chasing after Rose and Sybil, until he disappears. I guess, is it nighttime and daytime when things appear and disappear?
It's less of a night and day mechanic and more sort of like a mirror dimension, hell dimension thing.
Okay.
And it's usually indicated by like the siren or something.
Yeah, I just didn't get what, when it was happening. It was just like a, what an awful night for a curse.
It is that is so apt. It is pretty much like Dracula's curse in a game where you're just walking around. Except there's less. It's less. It happened because you sat still for a couple of minutes, and you just walked into like the flag activator section, and congratulations, you are now in hell. You instead of shit hospital, you are now in hell hospital, which is like shit hospital, but the monsters are stronger and everything's covered in rust.
Yes. So you get to see he doesn't do much the first time. He just chases them, corners them, and then lucky for them, his I don't know, time runs out or whatever. Second time he does a little more.
He hit 300 seconds, looked at the screen, jumped up, and fell down past the background.
Yep. And so so the second time you see him, though, we actually see him get a kill, and it is a fantastic one.
Oh man, what a
poor sweet little Anna gets horribly killed. Grabbed by the throat, picked up in the air, and then gets her skin ripped off.
Stripped and then stripped further.
Stripped and ripped. And I like too, it wasn't just like, kills her by ripping her skin off, but then like throws the skin at the other people there.
Just throws like the meat sluice at the door.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was good. He had a good scene. Like I said, that was after Sean Bean, the atmosphere. Then my next 3 likes were just particular scenes. That's it.
Say what you want about Pyramid Head, but that guy would be. It would be kind of a mixed bag to go hunting with him. Like, he makes so much noise that he'd probably scare the animals away. But if you could like kill the animal and bring it to him, he would clean that thing in like 2 seconds.
I like it though. Anyway, I'll mention it later on because I got lots to talk about. But was that it for your good?
Yeah.
That's it for me too. I had 5 in total, and 3 of them were scenes. So now we get to have fun. We're going to talk about the bad. And works the same as the good. We get to pick out be as broad or specific as we want. And I'm going to have lots more to talk about with this one. So I'm going to start it off.
Woo!
While the acting wasn't bad in this, some obviously better than others. My dear God, the dialogue was terrible. Nobody talks like this. Like, why aren't they talking the way normal people talk? Like, I can't even think of an example now. I just remembered, what the fuck? Like, they're talking like the way, this is worse than the dialogue of Dawson's Creek.
Well, basically, Anna, before she gets stripped and ripped, everything she does is, you can't tell, is she, making shit up? Is she hallucinating? None of her, she doesn't seem to be engaging anybody in an informative, helpful manner.
No, it's just that, I'm gonna chalk it up to just bad writing.
And for someone who says, oh, the monster's here, and she has, we have to go to the church, and then she runs to the church and doesn't go inside the church. So, yeah, people are acting very against their own self-interest or anything, really.
Yeah, but just the dialogue itself, the actual, all the lines in the movie everything just sounded really weak. It's just bad writing, just very inane, and, terrible. Just absolutely very, very bad. Very silly.
Oh yeah, this that's my first bad with the way people act. What you can basically summarize the mother in the first half hour of the movie is, you keep mentioning Silent Hill in your sleep, so we're going on a road trip, and we're not telling your dad because I'm a shitty wife, and we're going to run away from the cops because we all know that if you get away, they have to let you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not wrong. The whole premise of them going to Silent Hill is I don't know, it just seemed like such a weird thing to do, just to take the kid and take off there like that.
I know, you think you'd bring the dad with you. Because
Yeah,
it's just like this is our daughter. Like he's concerned too. Like he's not a shitty husband.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing in this has shown that he's like not supportive, that he doesn't listen, that he doesn't care, that he's like that they're in a bad marriage. Like no, he's a caring, supporting partner, and she just like fucks off with the kid. Okay, so what's next on yours?
The effects look very cheap. We mentioned the CGI, but I mean, this wasn't like particularly for a horror movie. This wasn't a low budget. I mean, there's so many good horror movies out there that would have loved to have had a $50 million budget. This had a great budget, and why does it look so shitty? I mean, like it was 2006, and it looked like it had like mid to late 90s CGI effects.
Oh, like the rat swarms?
The creeper, the beetle swarms, or whatever like that. Just any of them.
Oh yeah, beetles. They weren't rats.
The any of like a kind of like the type of morphing like type of effects look really bad.
The burnt babies.
The burnt babies at the beginning, that was probably the worst. And those crying, shrieking babies that somehow snuck up on her.
Yes, remember all the shrieking, moaning babies that somehow surrounded a girl, somehow surrounded this woman.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just.
And then Lord Thanos intervenes and saves her.
Yeah, it's just. I was really disappointed with the look of this. Like I especially since like they nailed it when it came to the actual environment, like the look of the town and everything. Set up such a creepy atmosphere. That was definitely a bonus for this movie. But then when it came to the effects of the creatures in the town, it just looked so shitty.
Oh, like that big pustulous barf bag that attacks the cop?
Oh, it gets spraying like the black acid stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just absolute rubbish. Did not look good at all. I mean, and for something like that too, all it was supposed to be this like vague like humanoid shape that shot out black acid. You couldn't have came up with some like practical effects, just like like humans in prosthetics, like a costume that it would have looked so much better than that. But anyway, like yeah, for a horror movie with $50 million budget, they really dropped the ball on the effects in this thing. Movies with a fraction of that budget have done much better jobs.
Yeah, considering how again they did use the CGI to make great like scenery and a great setting, they somehow fucked it on the on like
like the creatures.
Things.
The creature effects were bad.
Yeah, so it's like obviously done by different departments.
Yeah, definitely.
One department knew what they were doing and knew how to convey a creepy emotion with fog or debris or music, and another one just thought, how about we make something twitchy and have like a Salvador Dali face melt, and that's scary. Yeah. It's like, well, it can be scary if you believe what you're looking at.
The other
what made Dali amazing was that he took reality and turned it on its head and made it weird. You're just making weird and like making weird stuff and be like,
Yeah, the creature effects on this were done by, I don't know, definitely somebody in the effects department says, I think my nephew I think that's what my nephew's doing in school, 3D effects. Maybe we should get him to do this. So anyway, what else you got on your bad list?
Has anyone ever single-handedly taken down a wire fence by rattling it and screaming?
I got that on mine too. Multiple times she does this.
Oh yeah, because she figured like, okay, I failed, but I've gained experience points. Maybe I've done enough grinding throughout this movie, and I've leveled up to like fence takedown. I think I've unlocked that perk in my skill tree.
Yeah, that's in so many movies too. It happens all the time. It's like people comes to a chain link fence and they just start shaking it. What are you doing?
I would fucking love to see that work in a movie. Where, like, the fence is already, like, rotten, or... Do those things actually rot?
I have
Probably
no
not. They're
idea.
made of metal. It's pretty hard to rot something metal. Like, if it was rusty, then the second you grab it and shake it, you'd get tetanus from all the rust that you're grabbing onto. If it's bad enough to break apart like that, but it would just be hilarious if someone actually rattled the fence and all the poles that are like 5 feet in the ground just decide to tip over and fall, and the guy's just like, "All right, let's go."
Yep. Hey, it worked. All right. So, I actually know a guy who ran into a chain link fence on snowmobile. Got lost in a blizzard on snowmobile and was driving in the general direction of his home and actually ran into a chain link fence. And
speaking of Resident Evil,
yeah, well,
he didn't die that way though.
he actually it actually like shot him over the windshield face first into the fence, and he to this day has permanent scars in the shape of chain link fence on his face, and everyone actually calls him Link.
Oh fuck, that's awesome. Oh man, the closest anyone has ever come to being cubed in real life.
Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. So it's just so dumb, and it's like laughably bad. I don't know why people do this in movies. Like, don't rattle the fence. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, if you're gonna waste time rattling the fence, how about you rattle that fence with your feet and hands as you are climbing it?
Yeah.
Like, do something viable.
And she's pretty fit too. She could probably climb a chain link fence. So, oh my god, what did we talk about so far? So we've got the bad dialogue, the bad CGI effects.
She's a shitty mother.
Shitty mother.
And an idiot who hasn't figured out fences.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna say it, man. This movie is a mess. There's stuff thrown in all over the place. They just looks like they decided to just throw in stuff from the video game that without having any context, like you don't know what these things are supposed to be. They're supposed to be ghosts or demon creatures, like some kind of hell creature or what. Anything that was a danger in this movie, that was a threat to the main character, you have no idea what they are. Like, I just found it very confusing. Maybe you've got some more context if like you're familiar with the video games, but
as someone who's played 2 of them, I can tell you no.
Well, there you go. See, I know the video games. If I saw something from the game, like like Pyramid Head or the nurses and things like that, I'm like, oh, I know where that's from, but I haven't actually played the game, so I have no context to relate it to. But like you did, and you said it doesn't matter. Like they just threw in stuff, and you have no idea what they are.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this game suffered from numerous writer syndrome.
I think so.
Because there is some deliberate intent throughout this movie. There are good, excellent parts in it. Not just the scenery. Like whoever did do the scenery, the backdrop, like they conveyed the absolute aspect of the game. Even like from the title music, the credits music, end credits music, like they nailed that part. And there are times when it feels like you're in the world of the game. And then there's times where you're suffering from terrible movie tropes, which aren't like, they're not like classic because they're good. They're classic because they're shitty and derivative. Mm-hmm. And like, it is clear that like there's several different directions that this movie's trying to go in. And there's good directions and bad directions. So that tells you right off the bat, you've got good writers and bad writers. And for some reason, they're forced to work together instead of just the good writer taking control and being like, look, I've got this. Like, yeah. This is clear that someone told him, like, you don't got this. Like the studio says, like, this guy's got a contract. Like, we're obligated to give him, like, 40% of, like, the next 3 scripts, and then you drew the short straw.
Yep. Well, you, sounds legit to me, man. Like, I think you nailed it. Yeah, it was just an absolute like smorgasbord of just random shit thrown in there, and you get no explanation about what things are. It's like they could have made it like this could have been simply just a ghost story with like kind of like a mirror dimension with a revenge, like people stuck in it. This person that like this little girl had horrible things happen to her, and that made a demon come see her, like to kind of like almost like a vengeance demon type of thing. You didn't even need all the other random shit thrown in.
Yeah, that stuff wasn't from the game. So whoever came up with that part wasn't the fanboy of the game that
but even
did
stuff that's
so much else
from the game that I know is from the game, like still like it just thrown in randomly with no explanation, no context, like nobody got it. And other than like looking at it and saying, "Oh, that's something from the game." Like there's nothing
from
else.
the look of Pyramid Head, I think like he was supposed to be like the guy that raped Alessa.
No,
like
he was the guy that was because remember his dead body was tied up with barbed wire in the bathroom, and then you see him later on crawling around.
I'm pretty sure that he was supposed to be Pyramid Head because he was like the worst part of Alessa. Like if this world is a construct of Alessa's pain, then Pyramid Head would be the greatest source of that. And I thought it was him. Oh.
I don't know. Like I said, it's impossible to tell because this movie is such a fucking mess. There's stuff thrown in randomly all over the place. It makes no sense. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, next on my bad list. And this is... Okay. I like the character of Sybil. I thought she was awesome. She kicked ass. She went out like a champ. She died a horrible death. Why? She looks like somebody that's cosplaying as a cop. Like, there's no cop uniform that looks like that. Like, other than, like, I don't know, the T-1000 from Terminator, maybe?
Have you seen this boy?
Yeah, but, like, no, she looks like a stripper dressed as a cop.
And I'm fine with that.
Well, I mean, I'm not complaining about how she looks dressed like that. I'm just complaining that, like, is this what somebody actually think a cop looks like? Is this what you think a policeman's outfit actually would look like?
For the longest time, I thought she was I thought she was Lucy Lawless.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Kind of reminded me of Xena. Like if Xena was a highway patrolman.
Yeah, I could see that. But no, yeah, like I mean, like I think she did a decent job. The actress Laurie Holden did a decent acting job. The character itself, like I thought was good, but like, they could have dressed her like a real police officer, like a real bike cop. I expect her any moment like to pull out like a boombox and start like playing some kind of like stripper music and start pole dancing or something. I don't know, like just. Like I watched this with my wife because my wife had never seen this either, and so we're watching it, and she thought for a moment, she's like, so she's not a real cop, right? She's someone pretending to be a cop?
Yeah, she's just like some criminal that killed a cop, took parts of the uniform, added her own little flair to it.
Yeah, anyway, I just thought that was silly. I was like, you couldn't have just made her dress like a normal cop.
My bad with her was, where was her ass-kicking skills when she's out of bullets? Because she takes on these miners, kicks them all around, creates an opening for the mother to get into the elevator. And the second that's done, she just seems to like stand there and let them beat the shit out of her. Like, at least try to fight and then get overpowered. But she's just standing still while everyone's like whacking her and kicking her.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, where was all this ass-kicking skill afterwards? Like, she had this in the bag, and then she's just like, well, I've done my part as the sidekick. Time to just turn off and just wait for my death.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Like, she just kind of gives up once she gets rose into the elevator, she just kind of gives up.
Yeah, my parts of the cult are weird, because my next part is, this church protects us from the beast. Or, you could just move.
You could just
like,
move.
Yeah, everyone else left the town. You could too.
Well, I mean, I think that, like, they were the people that got stuck there when this whole event happened.
Well, stuck, really? The mother was able to drive in.
She didn't leave, I didn't think.
Well, yeah, she went back to her van a time or two, remember?
Yeah, but you couldn't actually leave the town. Like, remember when you tried to leave, it was it was as if the town there was a big chasm there. Like they couldn't leave.
Well,
That was the whole thing. You were going to try to
everyone
leave.
else left though. It wasn't like that was the. Well, was it the entire town?
No,
or-
it was just the cult members.
Yeah. So why didn't they leave with the? Yeah.
They couldn't. Like that was the thing, right? Like this is the demon had trapped them there.
Huh. Weird. Well, also my last bad, also about the cult, is a shitty looking, like, okay, all these people look homeless. What the fuck? Except for the leader, who apparently is the only one that gets soap and water. And so this cult led by the Borg Queen kills a kid because she has no dad. Like, that's like the driving plot.
Yep,
Yeah, that was just a little weak.
it was, and it's like she gets and then she is raped by the janitor, and so like let's punish her for that as well. So yeah, it kind of was, yeah. Like they really did like kind of stretch like to find a reason to kind of make the plot happen, I guess.
Yeah, little girl has a bad life. Yeah, I mean, like, if this kid, like, was a witch or had some sort of powers, like, that would be a reason for everyone to pick on her. But no, they just call her a witch because she doesn't have a daddy?
Yep, that's all it takes. Well, religious fanatics, right? That's all it takes.
Yeah, that's freaking... Man, that is, like, weak sauce.
So, yeah, I'll just say it here because I was wondering whether or not to put it as a what the fuck, but like, what was with the nurses? What was all that supposed to be? It goes back again to just like random shit thrown in with no context, but what were the nurses supposed to be?
Well, in the video games, they're a staple.
I know, like that, but like, what's supposed to be the story behind that? Why is there like nurses with fucked up faces, but like,
I guess it's because of Alessa's pain and fear being in the hospital. Like, she's surrounded by all these nurses, and like none of them are helping her and making her better.
okay, that actually kind of makes sense, yeah.
So they have no faces because they kind of don't matter. Like, they're all the same.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because
I saved the movie 4.5 stars.
There you go. Okay, Joe Bob. Yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense because everything is kind of like skewed to her nightmares type of thing. So
At least the nurses are. Everyone else, like a monster that spews out like what is it, tar?
yeah,
Like was
acid
he a construction worker that like wolf whistled her mom?
and Pyramid Head walking around with his Pyramid Head and his giant sword.
I really thought he was the janitor because he's the most terrifying thing there.
But we see, but I kind of see your point. But then we see the janitor, like he's all twisted up with barbed wire and everything.
Was that him, though?
Yeah, it was because he actually comes out of the stall where she finds his body.
Yeah, it says here, Pyramid Head, a humanoid monster wearing a triangle-shaped helmet who first appeared in Silent Hill 2, was played by Roberto Campanella, who also played Colin, a janitor implied to have raped Alessa, now appears as a monster wrapped in barbed wire. So I think one may have been like his actual body, but the other one was her perception of him.
Oh, okay, maybe. Anyway.
So while she may have killed him once she had those powers, but again, like if she has the power to distort the nurses and make them all the same to her, then she probably personified Pyramid Head.
Right. Maybe. We'll see. This is something that maybe we could have gotten a little bit of context in the movie. Once again, the whole thing is just a pile of shit. So anyway, that I'm just going to be going on and on about like just stupid stuff in this movie. Do you have anything else for your bad list?
Did we talk about this movie being way too fucking long?
I mentioned it in the when I was giving my info at the beginning, but yeah, it is way too fucking long.
Yeah, that deserves to be put in the bad. Again, it's really too fucking long. Like 125 minutes. And that's, about a good 60 minutes way too long.
Yeah, 90 minutes would have been fine.
Yeah.
Like they could have gotten through, told us everything they need to tell us about the story, and shown everything they need to show in 90 minutes, no problem. If you don't have a great story, like a very compelling story, like everything is coming up kind of weak, making it longer is not going to help that. So yeah, so what did you think about the ending?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah, you
Like
thought that
seeing
was...
her just give those psychotic bastards their just desserts.
Oh, that, like the cult getting annihilated was great, but I mean the actual ending.
Yeah, that part was fucked up and I didn't care for it.
Yeah, yes, there you go. Exactly.
She gets out of town and everything is still foggy. But I just figured like either it could be like, you know what, it's just a coincidence, this is just like a foggy night. Or perhaps maybe because Alessa is now free. Like, because we see like when the girl leaves, she leaves Dahlia alive, gives her this look kind of like, I'm kind of done with you. Like, I'll let you live because you're my mom, but I'm not going to stay with you because you still got me killed. Like, you're a shitty mom. Like, it's clear when the girl leaves that, now that, the dark Alessa is along for the ride. Like, she's been reunited with both aspects of herself. But, she's sticking around with Hot Mom. And they drive away. And the outside world is now covered in fog. Except we see the father who, he's in his house on a bright sunny day. And the family comes home. And everything is still foggy even inside the house. Except for the father who is still in a bright sunny house. But now the door is open. So the ending is so kind of fucked up. Like, she drove all the way home. Apparently, the car doesn't run out of gas in Spirit World, or the pumps work, even though there's no people and no attendants. And she somehow makes it home to a copy or a shadow world of her house.
Yeah, so they've left the town of Silent Hill, but yet they're still in the mirror dimension.
And yet can somehow kind of affect the real world by, like, leaving the door open, which, is this how she enters her home? Like, she just opens up the front door and leaves it there, like, thinking, like, oh, he'll get to it eventually. Like, is she just that much of a slob? Like, they live in a nice house. You'd think like they'd be in the habit of, like, locking their doors. Like, they got shit worth taking. They're a well-off family.
Yeah, just need a little plot device right there.
Yep, so apparently they're now haunting their home.
Yeah, I guess so. It's
which, I as long as this movie was, I could have been happier if they just had like some sort of like resolution to everything. Like, we've got the cop who says he's going to take care of it, but apparently never does. Like, and since all this happened in like the smoky fog world, even if he did sweep the town with his deputies, they're not going to find anybody because any bodies that are there are in the fog world.
Mm-hmm.
And like, he promised the guy, I'm going to like help you. I'm going to find your wife. He's not going to because she's already home. So as long as this movie ran on, it would have been helpful if there was like some sort of like resolution to the numerous plot devices that were left open.
Yeah, for sure. There would have been great to kind of cap these things, like find out exactly what was going on there.
And funny enough, we happened to get just that.
You don't say.
Yeah, put out the call, made a few connections, expanded our network, and managed to find out what happened. Like, how is the father coping with the fact that his family is home? And you know what happened to the cop? Did he follow up? Did he find anything? And those questions got answered. So we're going to tie up these plot points in It Came from the Cutting Room Floor.
What the fuck did I hit?
Oh, officer, I wasn't expecting you. I would have told you to watch out for my wife's van.
What van? My fender's scratched to hell, but there's nothing it would have hit.
Oh, it's there. Sometimes. I just leave little, chalk or pylons to give me some areas to avoid, but it's there.
What are you talking about? You're saying your wife and child are home?
Well, yeah and no. You're not going to see them here, but they have been home for a while. Near as I can tell, they're trapped in some dimension that mirrors and sometimes intersects with our own, at least in some ways. I'm not a scientist.
Well, I hit something, but I can't believe that. Anyway, I came here to tell you that we haven't finished sweeping the town yet, but we're not giving up on finding them. Or Officer Bennett.
Oh, she's dead.
What?
My wife told me about it.
Listen, you just said you can't see her.
I can't hear her either.
Then, how do you get this information? Do you get a feeling?
Oh no, we figured out how to chat. See, she opens doors and shit in her reality, and I find them open here. So I just left paper and pens all over the place, and we kind of got that going on. It's kind of sweet and romantic. Nobody writes letters anymore. I think it would make a great idea for a movie to have two lovers separated by space and time, and they can only communicate with letters.
That sounds stupid.
Yeah, maybe. So, anyway, hold on a second. Okay, here's my wife's notes, and you can see in her handwriting, she tells me right here, Bennett was a great friend, helped her find our daughter, but she was burned to death by the cult who were also trapped in the foggy mirror dimension before my wife could save her with my daughter's evil aspect that she smuggled inside of her.
I can't believe this.
So, yeah, she's home.
But she's trapped in a mirror dimension.
Well, no marriage is perfect. It's got its upsides as well. I can just leave shit lying around and she cleans it up, but I don't have to hear her passive-aggressive bullshit anymore. It's like having a ninja maid.
Okay, so what are the downsides?
Well, she mentions everything is foggy over there, so I tried setting up some dehumidifiers around the place. She says it helps, but now I get finger zaps all over the place. But, family, it's all about sacrifice.
Jeez, this is nuts.
No, the sex life, that's nuts. Sometimes I can feel her in the bed, but since we can't hear each other, consent is kind of assumed. But it's led to some interesting shit, though sometimes I had my girlfriend around the house, and they get along better than I thought. The three-way was a mind-bender, but, the marriage has never been better.
What about your daughter?
She's going to be a teenager in a couple of years. Wouldn't you just love to get around that mess in any way you can?
Oh yeah, I hear you, man. So, I guess I should just wrap up this case. Market is closed?
Yeah, sounds good. Oh, by the way, I'm throwing a wicked rager tonight. It's going to be off the chain. You want to come?
Yeah, but shouldn't you ask your wife first?
What's she going to do, yell at me?
Okay, I'm going to go get a cake.
Woo! And there you go.
Wow. There's a sequel to this movie, so it's gonna be great to see if this scene makes it into the sequel. This might be a good way to start. Maybe this would be a great way to start it off.
Well, if the movie doesn't start like this, then I'm pretty sure it's going to be bad.
I have no doubt that the sequel is bad. I haven't seen it, but I'm willing to put money on it. Okay, so Mike, yeah, you got some choices this week, buddy. I know we've had a little bit of a run where you didn't have a whole lot of options, but not the case this time around. So, what have you got for us in your section this time?
Oh yeah, we got some choice on this week's kill of the week. And while it was pretty darn gruesome to see deputy officer, patrolman, sheriff, whatever the hell her name, whatever her tits are, getting slow roasted like a bag of peanuts. This, I gotta give it to Christabella, which is a mouthful of a name. But, it was fun to watch her get killed when she was the Boar Queen. And her death in this was no less dramatic or CGI filled. Because she gets the barbed wire spreading her legs, lifting her up into the air so she can look at the charred remains of the child that she burned, who apparently grew up. Okay, like, I may have to hit the brakes here. Is the child dead or just, like, somehow alive and burned?
I seemed like she was alive.
Like, she looked older. Like, she wasn't a kid anymore.
Yeah, she
looked like a 30-year-old burn
adult.
victim.
Yes, she had grown.
But apparently, even though she's alive, she gave soul birth to a clone of herself that her anger part gave up for adoption. Because this movie isn't fucked up enough. The kid who is alive, not dead, and like her ghost, like split into two pieces, she is alive. Her soul is in her body. And yet somehow, like, the demon, which is like the evil part of her, is not in her body. It walks around as like Pyramid Head, I guess. Or something. And then also gave up the good part of her for adoption.
Yeah, you're right.
So, like, this is fucked up. Like, and not well explained. Like, they explained it, but it's like, you did a bad job selling it. So anyway, we get to see Christabella lifted up by barbed wire and made to face the adult who she burned as a kid. And then we get to see her legs get spread by the barbed wire, and then another shoot of barbed wire goes straight down the path. And if you thought the Evil Dead tree went too far, nope. And then this girl just gets literally split in half by the barbed wire. And the demon, the hate demon thing in the form of the little girl, whatever that is, she's dancing around, skipping in a little circle, or doing like little figure eights, while the blood is just raining down on her. And that was just, like, again, I don't understand it, but it looked awesome.
Yeah, it was, for sure, yeah, she's just skipping around and kind of doing a skip to my loo type of dance in the raining blood.
Yeah, just like a little kid would do on the sidewalk during a gentle rainstorm. Is there a gentle storm? Well, yeah. Anyway, that's the kill of the week because, that's the best this movie gives us.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Like, that one was tough. I don't know which one I would have went for. That was the most dramatic, or not the most dramatic, but like that whole thing, because there's so much stuff going on. There's so many people dying. That was a good one. I would have been satisfied with any of the three main kills, to be quite honest.
Yeah, and then there was also when the mom starts kicking ass, she starts running through all this carnage and knifes a guy in the throat. And then she has to fight this guy, which looks like Professor Snape.
Yep. I literally got him written in my notes as Alan Rickman.
And then that's when he gets snared by the barbed wire and just completely shredded. And the little girl and the real Alessa looks at her and gives her like a little eye, like, we're cool.
Yeah.
So that was a runner-up for the kill of the week.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. That whole scene was like a nice little Carrie-esque payoff.
Yep. No, you nailed it. Like, that was a good one. I may have, just because of how slow and painful it was. Maybe Sybil's might have even went with Anna getting killed by getting skinned by Pyramid Head.
Yeah, we finally got to see tits, and then no more tits. So
just getting your skin, not even like sliced off or peeled off, but just like brute force ripped off like that.
Sheared the whole fucking thing off in one go.
Okay, so
I would have liked to see what he was holding on to. Like, was he holding on the bones that were somehow still holding together, or?
I guess, yeah. But yeah, okay,
yeah.
Good choice. I would have, yeah, that's probably would have ended up going with the same one. So yeah, good stuff. Okay, guys, that is Silent Hill. What do you think of it? What do you think of the movie? What do you think of this episode? Do you agree, disagree with what we had to say? Did we miss some points? Whatever the case is, we want to hear from you. You can email us at graveyardshiftpod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter and comment on our post right there at GYS_horrorpod, or on Facebook at facebook.com/graveyardshiftpod. And of course, now we're on Instagram as well. You can go to instagram.com/thegraveyardshiftpod.
And are we on Spotify?
I believe we are, yeah.
And what about iHeartRadio?
No, we are not.
All right. So
iHeartRadio is a little bit tricky. I'll explain later. But anyway, if you're feeling particularly generous and you want to help us keep the show going, you can go to www.patreon.com/graveyard. For as little as $1 a month, you get to help out the show greatly with the production costs, but also you get to hear some exclusive Patreon bonuses. Each month. Maybe each week soon, but no, for now it's one each month.
If we get a tremendous surge in our Patreon, then we can definitely consider a bit more content.
We'll find some more time somewhere. But right now, if you're a Patreon member, if you're donating as little as $1 a month, you get access to our monthly Patreon exclusive bonus episodes. And we do them a little different than we do with the regular episodes. If we cover a movie, sometimes we do an entire synopsis from start to finish. We do some top 10s. Just whatever it is we feel like doing that month, we can go a little bit crazy. Sometimes we even just do an extended episode of our regular episode, just basically unedited, nothing cut out of there. Because sometimes they can go a little long and we got to chop it down a bit. So, but the ones we post there are not cut at all. So check that out. And that's if you're feeling particularly generous, but of course we understand not everybody has the money to give us money, but you can still help us out a ton by going on to iTunes, rate, review, subscribe. In the long run, that's what's going to help us out the most, so we could greatly appreciate that. Or rate, review, and subscribe on whatever source you're using to get this podcast, or even on our social media, like a review and a rating on Facebook helps us out a lot as well. If none of that is possible, share us on your social media with anybody you think that would be interested in it. We try to make sure we don't just post our episodes. We post some stuff every day that's horror related, or sometimes just stuff that's going on with us. So check that out. Most people seem to find our pages pretty entertaining. And if you can't do that, if that's not possible for some reason, just spread us by word of mouth. If you know somebody that's interested in horror movies and might want to listen to a podcast that deals with horror movies, let them know about us. Maybe they'll be interested.
Share the love.
Exactly.
Share the joy.
Speaking of sharing the love, Mike, what else you got going on in podcast land?
Well, I recently revived my tech discussion podcast, Technobabble, which is on the Geek Fallout Productions Facebook page, as well as their the podcast feed, which is called Geek Fallout Productions, because it has several shows on it, but the only new one is Technobabble, the revived tech show, which was my very first podcast, and a lot of fun. Like, if you want to hear about what's amazing in the world and how it can be used to save or destroy us, you get to hear my imagination go wild with me and my co-host Rich Reader. And if you just want to hear about the most disgusting, terrible things we've seen on Reddit and occasionally talk about Nintendo Power Magazine, you can check out the Playing with Power podcast, which We talk about Nintendo games, Nintendo stuff. We are very immature and vulgar. So basically, it's this movie, but with less restraint.
Yeah, you can imagine that.
And we also do a show called The Taste Test, which also has skits in it as well as us talking about old video games like Dick Tracy, Ninja Turtles, Castlevania. Like, we play the old games that we missed as kids, and we finally get to give them a good old taste test. And we throw food jokes in there because my buddy that I host it with is a cook slash stoner, so we throw in a lot of stereotypes and jokes. It's fun stuff.
Yeah, and Mike's not doing enough podcasts, so if you got an idea for a different podcast other than horror movies, video games, or technology, then let us know that as well.
Yeah, if you want to talk about like feminism or politics or something like that, you know what? Why not? I'm not doing enough at podcasting. Apparently, it's not making enough money yet. So
yeah,
or any money. But if I keep doing enough stuff, something will eventually pay off somewhere.
You can get by with a few less hours sleep a week. So
yeah.
So guys, that is it. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. The downloads again are increasing every week. We really love seeing that, and you guys have been great on our social media too. There's always a conversation going on in our Facebook and Twitter page, just such good stuff. And so just thank you guys. We really do appreciate it. It's been great. And we're going to be back next week with another episode and another movie. But until then, I'm Sheldon.
And I'm Mike.
And
I'm tired.
And you're the Mike? I'm the Mike. You sound like a little bit like Alan Rickman right then. But we're going to be back next week with another movie. And please come and see us again on The Graveyard Shift.
I am Mike, motherfucker.